Have you ever sat through a presentation and, like, 2 minutes later, you've already forgotten the main point? We've all been there. But what if you could make your ideas not just heard, but truly unforgettable? Well, today, we're unlocking the secrets of a master communicator, Steve Jobs. We're going to explore how his deceptively simple way of telling a story can completely transform how you share your own big ideas.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the art of just being heard in all the noise. Then, we'll get into the main villain of most presentations, complexity. After that, we'll reveal Jobs' secret weapon. It's a two-parter, a simple structure, and the power of simplicity. And finally, we'll bring it all home and talk about how you can use all this for your one big idea.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Section 1, the art of being heard. I mean, think about it. We live in an age of just constant information overload. We're getting hit with messages all day long. So in a world this noisy, how do you make sure your idea is the one that actually cuts through?
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's not just about getting people to listen for a few minutes. It's about making your idea stick with them, making it something they remember long after you're done talking. So how on earth do you do that?
Well, before we can talk about the solution, we really have to understand the problem. And that brings us to the biggest obstacle in communication, hands down, complexity. This is the #1 reason that most messages, no matter how brilliant they are, just fall flat.
Does this sound familiar? I bet it does. We've all sat through these. You know, slides just packed with tiny text and bullet points, a speaker who's basically just reading off the screen, and by the end, you're just sitting there thinking, wait, what was the point of all that? These presentations aren't just boring. They are a communication dead end.
And wow, when you see it side by side like this, the difference is just night and day. On the left, you've got your typical presentation. It's a data dump, right? Cluttered, way too much text, no clear takeaway. But then, you look at the Jobs approach on the right. It's clean, it's minimal, there's one core message. It's powerful precisely because it's so focused.
So, the big question is, how do we get from that cluttered mess on the left to that beautiful clarity on the right? Well, this is where we pivot from the problem to the solution. And it all starts with a super simple but incredibly powerful framework for your story.
And this was Jobs' secret weapon, the problem/solution arc. It's classic storytelling, really. First, you introduce the villain, a problem that the audience totally gets, something they can relate to. And then you bring in the hero, your idea, your product, as the amazing, elegant solution they've been waiting for.
He basically did this in a 3-act play. Act 1 was the hook. He'd grab your attention with a big, juicy question. Act 2, the problem. He'd lay out a super clear challenge. You know, for the first iPhone, the problem was that smartphones weren't actually that smart and they were a pain to use. And then Act 3, the solution. Boom. He'd reveal his product as the perfect answer. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's so easy for an audience to follow along.
But look, a great structure. That's just the skeleton, right? What really brings it to life is the stuff you fill it with. And that leads us to the second pillar of the Jobs method, a relentless, almost obsessive focus on simplicity.
This quote was basically his North Star. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It perfectly captures this idea that true genius isn't about adding more and more stuff. It's about stripping away everything that isn't absolutely essential. Getting to simple is hard work, but that's where the real clarity is.
And you could see this philosophy in every single one of his slides. Every little detail had to have a purpose. It had to earn its spot. The slides were super minimalist, a lot of times just one big image or a few words. And why? Because the whole point was to make the message the star of the show, not the slide itself. It's all about saying only what truly, truly matters.
Okay, so this brings us to our final section. And this is where we turn all these lessons into action for you. It all boils down to this: your one big idea.
And this right here is the biggest takeaway. You know, great storytelling isn't about saying more stuff or showing off how much you know. Not at all. The real goal is to create crystal clear understanding. And you get there by having the discipline to focus only on what truly matters and then delivering that one thing with real power and simplicity.
So I'm going to leave you with this one challenge. The next time you have to put together a presentation or write an important email or even just have a conversation where you need to get a point across, just stop. Pause for a second and ask yourself this one question. What is the one thing I want my audience to remember? Once you find that one thing, you found the heart of your story.